Welcome back to Sunrise Farms. In today's video we're going to be doing some mounding, a couple of different techniques on watermelon, and then along the way we'll be discussing some various things that, like yourself, you probably have looked on YouTube or maybe Facebook and found some various ways to plant watermelon, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it. So thank you so much for stopping by. Let's get started. So right here you can see that I have a mound starting. Yes, I kind of put all of this in place first with my tractor. Now I'm getting ready to clean it up with a steel rake and a flathead shovel. My neighbors who have the property behind me and beside me have a cattle farm, and they had a truckload of compost delivered for their purposes of trying to grow hay in their fields and various other things. And so I've bartered with them. I asked for a few buckets full from my tractor, which I have a little Mahindra 1626, which I'll show in a different video. Yes, I was blessed and fortunate enough to have that. But that being said, I bartered a couple of, actually four. I bartered 4 bucketfuls of my my front end loader. And I'm going to give them some of the fruits and vegetables that come of this. So if you happen to have the ability to know your neighbors, or to even look close on say Facebook Marketplace or others that you can possibly do barter system, I would urge you to try it. I mean, this dirt didn't cost me anything other than time to move it. And the only reason I'm doing 3 things. This over here is going to end up being a couple of different 2x2 little mounds, and I'm going to try to plant 4 seeds per mound, and we're going to see what happens with that. I'm trying a couple of different techniques, and this is completely experimental for us. As I said before in my first video, I've never planted a garden in my life, not one thing, not on a porch, not in a pot, not one thing have I ever planted. So I just decided to jump in feet first and see what I could do. A lot of my training comes from YouTube, but also I happen to have some friends, some church neighbors, and some people around me even that have done various things in farming. So I picked their brain for knowledge. I asked them questions. And then, quite frankly, the only way to really get into doing it and learn is to jump in with trial and error. But I also wanted to make sure that I'm doing this with a strict budget in mind, or let's say if you're in a position where you just don't have a lot of spare money, but you'd like to do some of these things for yourself, even if it's on an extremely smaller scale, like say on a balcony or something. It does, whatever your situation is, I want to make sure we're doing it as cheaply as possible and seeing if it works. So these watermelons, this area here, yes, it's compost, okay, I grant you that, but I am not adding any fertilizer, any chemicals. I'm not adding anything else to it other than what it already is. And we're going to see if they'll actually grow properly. So anyway, let me get to it. All right, now that we've prepared the watermelon beds, let's see if our planting technique is going to work. Obviously, this will take up till the first part of July, sometime in July, before we see the full fruits of our labor. But we're going to just do periodic updates along the way and see if these different various mound systems work. I could actually attempt to put some in the ground, but we'll also just see how that goes. So here's the seeds that we're using. We are using, and this came out of Tractor Supply. Yep, don't ding me for that. It just happens to be local and I got them. So for $1.99, we got these Jubilee watermelon seeds. And we're gonna see what happens. And these are the mounds we're gonna put them in. All right, so let's see what happens. I'm sure everybody already knows what watermelon seeds look like, but there's what they look like, which we're also going to be experimenting on this farm, is harvesting seeds for future crops. I know that this package actually says, sow 4 to 6 seeds about 3 feet apart. And I've watched so many YouTube videos that I see 2 feet apart. I see keep the rows 4 feet to 5 feet to 7 feet. I've seen this particular 2x2 mound system. And guess what? That's why we're going to experiment and try them out. Because honestly, you get so much differing opinions, you just simply don't know what doesn't work. So again, I have my compost pile here. This is a roughly a 2x2, and it's about 10 inches high, 10 to 12 inches high perhaps. And we're going to just sow some seeds. And all I'm going to do is they say to put them 1 inch deep. So I'm going to put them in the corner. That's one. I'm just going to push it in because I didn't really compact this soil. Okay. And so if I'm going to plant 4 in one mound, but I'm not doing what they say. I don't want to waste watermelon, plus I want to experiment and see how well these seeds germinate. So here's seed number 2. I'm only putting 1 per hole. 1 per hole. Just push it in there about the inch they recommend and go with it. Here's seed number 3. Again, just pushing it in there about an inch and packing it off. Oop, I lost it, see? And there's seed number 4. It blended in with the dirt and I missed it. So again, I'm just pushing it in about an inch and we're gonna cover it up. I'm supposed to get rain this afternoon, but I'm gonna probably water these here shortly. But the rain, I wanted to intentionally plant these before the rain. So on to the next one. All of them are gonna be the same thing. I also know that there are plenty of people that say that you should start these in little planters and pots first. I don't actually disagree with that. And we'll explore some avenues about various ways you can use things around your house without even buying pots. But in my particular purpose, because I had no idea what I was doing when I started to decide to get this farm going and start planting crops, to be perfectly blunt, I honestly didn't even know that you should start your seeds, in my case, probably in January, in order to have a lot of them planted in March. Because most of my planting season starts in March, which is kind of typically where we get our last frost. Not necessarily, but just like I said, kind of typically. And so I missed the window to do that. I mean, I still could, I suppose, but one of the other things that about planting it directly in the ground, of course, I'm more subject to critters and to other things, but one of the things about planting it in the ground is I don't have to worry about transplant shock later. I don't know how much that actually affects plants. It seems like it would affect them greatly. I mean, if you think about it, even with us, right? If you've ever moved in your life, I don't care if it's moving just around the corner. If you ever moved in your life, moving is a shock. Transplanting you is a shock. If you ever had to start in a new school system, it's a shock. You ever had to start a new job, it's a shock. So, plants are living creatures. They're living things by God. I would assume the same thing applies. Now again, this thing says to sow 3 feet apart. And then thin, it says plant 4 to 6 seeds, 3 feet apart. And then thin to 2 to 3 per group. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to conserve my seeds and see just how far this one pack of watermelon seeds goes. So what I've decided to do, when you saw me do those 4 little mounds, I did 1 seed per corner. And we're gonna see how many, that's obviously 16 plants. We're gonna see how many come up out of those 16. On this row, and I may have the row too long, but we'll see. But on this row, I'm going to plant 2 per hole, 2 feet apart. So 2 seeds per hole, 2 feet apart all the way down. I'll see how many seeds I have. Hopefully I have enough, but we'll see where it goes. And then we'll look as the journey goes, how many come up. Thank you all so much. Take care and God bless you.